Our Sultan Mehmed saw to that, but by all accounts Constantine wasn't too bad himself. He was the very last Roman emperor in a line that went back a millennium. "Spare me the history lesson," Ezio interrupted. "I want to know what we're up against now." "Thing is, by the time Mehmed took this city, there was almost nothing left of it, or of the old Byzantine Empire. They even say Constantine was so broke he had to replace the jewels in his robes with glass copies. My heart bleeds for him. He was a brave man. He refused the offer of his life in exchange for surrendering the city, and he went down fighting. But his spirit wasn't shared by two of his nephews. One of them has been dead a few years now, but the other—" Yusuf trailed off thoughtfully. "He's against us?" "Oh, you can bet on that. And he's against the Ottomans. Well, the rulers, anyway." "Where is he now?" Yusuf looked vague. "Who knows? In exile, somewhere. But if he's still alive, he'll be plotting something." He paused. "They say he was in pretty thick with Rodrigo Borgia at one time." Ezio stiffened at the name. "The Spaniard?" "The very same. The one you finally snuffed out." "It was his own son that did the deed." "Well, they never were exactly the Holy Family, were they?" "Go on." "Rodrigo was also close to a Seljuk named Jem. It was all very hush-hush, and even we assassins didn't know about it until much later." Ezio nodded. He had heard the stories. "If I remember rightly, Jem was a bit of an adventurer." "He was one of the present Sultan's brothers, but he had his eye on the throne for himself, so Bayezid threw him out. He ended up kind of under house arrest in Italy, and he and Rodrigo became friends." "I remember," Ezio said, taking up the story. "Rodrigo thought he could use Jem's ambitions to take Constantinople for himself, but the Brotherhood managed to assassinate Jem in Capua about 15 years ago, and that put an end to that little plan. Not that we got much thanks for it." "Our task is not wrought in order to receive thanks." Yusuf bowed his head. "I am schooled, Mentor, but it was a pretty neat coup, you must admit." Ezio was silent, so after a moment Yusuf continued. "The two nephews I mentioned were the sons of another of Bayezid's brothers, Tomas. They'd been exiled too with their father." "Why?" "Would you believe it, Tomas was after the Ottoman throne as well. Sound familiar?" "The name of this family wouldn't be Borgia, would it?" Yusuf laughed. "It's Palaiologos, but you're right, it almost amounts to the same thing. After Jem died, the nephews both went to ground in Europe. One stayed there, trying to raise an army to take Constantinople himself. He failed, of course, and died, like I said, 7 or 8 years ago, without an heir and penniless. But the other, well, he came back, renounced any imperial ambition, was forgiven, and actually joined the navy for a time. Then he seemed to settle down to a life of luxury and womanizing." "But now he's disappeared?" "He's certainly out of sight." "And we don't know his name?" "He goes by many names, but we have been unable to pin him down." "But he is plotting something." "Yes, and he has Templar connections." "A man to be watched." "If he surfaces, we'll know about it." "How old is he?" "It said he was born in the year of Mehmed's conquest, which would make him just a handful of years older than you." "Still enough kick in him, then." Yusuf looked at him. "If you are anything to go by, plenty." He looked around him. Their walk had taken them deep into the heart of the city. "We're almost there," he said. "This way." They made another turn into a narrow street, dim, cool, and shadowy, despite the sunshine, which tried and failed to penetrate the narrow space between the buildings on either side. Yusuf paused at a small, unimpressive-looking green-painted door and raised the brass knocker on it. He tapped out a code, so softly that Ezio wondered that anyone within would hear. But within seconds the door was swung open by a broad-shouldered, narrow-hipped girl who bore the assassin's emblem on the buckle of her tunic belt. Ezio found himself in a spacious courtyard, green vines clinging to the yellow walls. Assembled there was a small group of young men and women. They gazed at Ezio in awe as Yusuf, with a theatrical gesture, turned to him and said, "Mentor, say hello to your extended family." Ezio stepped forward. "Salute a voi, assassini." It is an honor to find such fast friends so far from home. To his horror, he found that he was moved to tears. Maybe the tensions of the past few hours were catching up with him, and he was still tired after his journey. Yusuf turned to his fellow members of the Constantinople chapter of the Assassin Brotherhood. "You see, friends, our mentor is not afraid to weep openly in front of his pupils." Ezio wiped his cheeks with a gloved hand and smiled. "Do not worry, I will not make a habit of it. The mentor has not been in our city more than a matter of hours, and already there is news." Yusuf went on, his face serious. "We were attacked on the way here. It seems the mercenaries are on the move once more. So," he indicated 3 men and 2 women, "you, Dogan, Kasim, Hayreddin, and you, Evraniki and Irini, I want you to make a sweep of the area. Now." The 5 silently rose, bowing to Ezio as they took their leave. "The rest of you, back to work," Yusuf commanded, and the remaining assassins dispersed. Left alone, Yusuf turned to Ezio, a look of concern on his face. "My mentor, your weapons and your armor look in need of renewal, and your clothes, forgive me, are in a pitiful state. We will help you, but we have very little money." Ezio smiled. "Have no fear. I need none, and I prefer to look after myself. It is time to explore the city alone, to get the feeling of it into my blood." "Will you not rest first? Take some refreshment." "The time for rest is when the task is done." Ezio paused. He unslung his bags and withdrew the broken hidden blade. "Is there a blacksmith or an armorer skilled and trustworthy enough to repair this?" Yusuf examined the damage, then slowly, regretfully shook his head. "This, I know, is one of the original blades, crafted from Altaïr's instructions in the codex your father collected. And what you ask may be impossible to achieve. But if we cannot get it done, we will make sure you do not go out underarmed. But leave your weapons with me, those you do not need to take with you now, and I will have them cleaned and honed, and there will be fresh clothes ready for you on your return." "I am grateful." Ezio made for the door. As he approached it, the young blonde doorkeeper lowered her eyes modestly. "Aziz will be your guide, if you wish her to go with you, mentor," Yusuf suggested. Ezio turned. "No, I go alone." 19. In truth, Ezio sought to be alone. He needed to collect his thoughts. He went to a taverna in the Genoese quarter, where wine was available, and refreshed himself with a bottle of pigatto and a simple macaroin in brodo. He spent the rest of the afternoon thoroughly acquainting himself with the Galata district, and avoided trouble, melting into the crowd whenever he encountered either Ottoman patrols or bands of Byzantine mercenaries. He looked just like many other travel-stained pilgrims, wandering the colourful, messy, chaotic, exciting streets of the city. Once he was satisfied, he returned to headquarters just as the first lamps were being lit in the dark interiors of the shops, and they were laying tables in the locantas. Yusuf and some of his people were waiting for him. The Turk immediately came up to him, looking pleased with himself. "Praise the heavens, mentor! I am glad to see you again, and safe. We feared we had lost you to the vices of the big city." "You are melodramatic," said Ezio, smiling. "And as for vices, I am content with my own. Grazie." "I hope you will approve of the arrangements we have made in your absence." Yusuf led Ezio to an inner chamber where a complete new outfit had been laid out for him. Next to it, neatly arranged on an oak table, lay his weapons, sharpened, oiled, and polished, gleaming as new. A crossbow had been added to the set. "We have put the broken blade in a place of safety," said Yusuf, "but we noticed that you have no hook blade, so we have organized one for you." "Hook blade?" "Yes, look." Yusuf drew back his sleeve to reveal what Ezio had first taken to be a hidden blade, but when Yusuf activated it and it sprang forth, he saw that it was a more complex variant. The telescopic blade of the new weapon ended in a curved hook of well-tempered steel. "Fascinating," said Ezio. "You've never seen one before? I grew up using these." "Show me." Yusuf took a new hook blade from one of the assassins in attendance, who'd held it in readiness, and tossed it over to Ezio. Transferring his good, hidden blade from his right wrist to his left, under the bracer, Ezio strapped the hook blade to his right. He felt its unfamiliar weight and practiced releasing and retracting it. He wished Leonardo had been there to see it. "You'd better give me a demonstration." "Immediately, if you are ready." "As I'll ever be." "Then follow me and watch what I do closely." They went outside and down the street in the light of late afternoon to a deserted space between a group of tall brick buildings. Yusuf selected one whose high walls were decorated with projecting horizontal runs of tiled brick at intervals of some 10 feet. Yusuf set off toward the building at a run, leaping, when he reached it, onto a couple of water barrels placed close to it. Then, springing upward from them, he released his hook blade and used it to grip the first projecting run of tiles, pulling himself up with the hook blade and using his momentum to hook onto the run above, and so on, until he was standing on the roof of the building. The whole operation took less than a few seconds. Taking a deep breath, Ezio followed suit. He managed the first 2 operations without difficulty, and even found the experience exhilarating, but he almost missed his hold on the 3rd tier and swung dangerously outward for a moment until he corrected himself without losing momentum and found himself soon afterward on the roof next to Yusuf. "Don't stop to think," Yusuf told him. "Use your instincts and let the hook do the work. I can already see that after another couple of climbs like that you'll have mastered it. You're a quick learner, Mentor." "I have had to be." Yusuf smiled. He extended his own blade again and showed Ezio the detail. "The standard Ottoman hook blade has 2 parts, you see, the hook and the blade, so that you can use one or the other independently. An elegant design, no?" "A pity I didn't have one of these in the past." "Perhaps then you had no need of one. Come." He bounded over the rooftops, Ezio following, remembering the distant days when he had chased after his brother Federico across the rooftops of Florence. Yusuf led him to places where he could practice some more, out of sight of prying eyes, and once Ezio had accomplished, with increasing confidence, another 3 climbs, Yusuf turned to him and said, a glint in his eye, "There's still enough light left in the day. How about a bigger challenge?" "Va bene," Ezio grinned. "Let's go." Yusuf took off, running again through the emptying streets, until they reached the foot of the Galata Tower. "They don't post guards in peacetime until the torches are lit on the parapets. We won't be disturbed. Let's go." Ezio looked up the great height of the tower and swallowed hard. "You'll be fine. Follow my lead, take a run at it, and let yourself go. Just throw yourself into it, and again, let the hook do all the hard work. There are plenty of nooks and crannies in the stonework. You'll be spoiled for choice about where to hook in." With a carefree laugh of encouragement, Yusuf set off. His skillful use of the blade made it look as if he were walking, running even, straight up the wall of the tower. Moments later, Ezio, panting but triumphant, joined him on the roof, looking around him. As the young man on the ship had said, the views across the city were stunning. And Ezio hadn't had to wait for permission from some bureaucrat to see them. He identified all the landmarks the young man had introduced him to from the deck of the Bagla, using the opportunity to familiarize himself further with the city's layout. But another part of his mind just drank in its beauty in the red-gold light of the setting sun, the light reminding him of the color of the hair of that beautiful woman who'd been his fellow passenger and who'd looked right through him. "Welcome to Istanbul, Mentor," said Yusuf, watching his face. "The crossroads of the world." "I can see now why they call it that." "Many generations of men have ruled this city, but they have never subdued her. Whatever yoke is placed on her neck, whatever neglect or pillage is visited on her, she always bounces back." "It seems a fine place to call home." "It is." Yusuf stepped to the edge of the tower after another minute or two, looked down, then turned to Ezio again. "Race you to the bottom?" he asked, and without waiting for a reply, threw himself from the parapet in an astounding leap of faith. Ezio watched him plummet like a hawk, stopping and landing safely in a hay wain he'd already singled out, 175 feet below. He sighed, pausing a moment longer to stare at the city spread out beneath him in wonder. The great city, the first city, the heiress of ancient Rome. Constantinople was 1,000 years old and had been home to hundreds of thousands of citizens at a time, in the not-too-distant past, when Rome and Florence were mere villages by comparison. She had been plundered and ravaged, and he knew the legendary beauty of the past was gone forever. But she had always awed her attackers and those who sought to reduce her. And, as Yusuf had said, she had never truly been subdued. Ezio looked around one last time, scanning the whole horizon with his keen eyes. He fought down the deep sadness that filled his heart. Then, in turn, he made his own leap of faith. 20. The following morning, Ezio and Yusuf sat in the courtyard of the assassin headquarters, poring over plans spread on a table, charting their next move. There was no doubt in their minds that couriers from the Templars at Masyaf would very soon arrive in the city, if they had not done so already, and that a concerted Templar attack must be anticipated. "It's like a hydra, the Templar organization," Ezio brooded. "Cut one head off, and two grow back." "Not in Rome, Mentor. You've seen to that." Ezio was silent. With his thumb he tried the edge of the hook blade he was oiling. "I am certainly impressed by this weapon, Yusuf. My brothers in Rome would profit from having them as part of their equipment." "It's not a hard design to copy," Yusuf replied. "Just give credit where it's due." "I need more practice," Ezio said, little realizing that he'd get it soon enough, for at the moment the street door burst open before Aziz had time to reach it, and Qasim, one of Yusuf's lieutenants, rushed in, his eyes wild. "Yusuf Bey, come quickly!" Yusuf was on his feet in an instant. "What's going on?" "An attack on two fronts, our dens in Galata and at the Grand Bazaar." "It never stops," Yusuf said angrily. "Every day the same bad news." He turned to Ezio. "Could this be the big attack you fear?" "I have no way of knowing, but it must be dealt with." "Of course. How is your appetite for swordplay?" "I think you know the answer to that. I do what I must." "Good man. It's time to put your hook blade to some real use. Let's go!" 21. In no time at all they were sprinting across the rooftops in the direction of the Galata den. As they drew close, they descended to the street in order to be less conspicuous to Byzantine crossbowmen. But they found their way blocked by a unit of heavily armed mercenaries who ordered them menacingly to turn back. They pretended to retreat a few paces, conferring together. "Use your hook blade, Mentor," said Yusuf. "There's a sure way to get past these thugs with the maximum of speed and the minimum of fuss." "Sounds good to me." "Watch. We call it a hook and roll." Without more ado, Yusuf turned back to the line of men spread out across the street, facing them. He selected one and ran toward him at such great speed that before the man or any of his companions could react, he leapt into the air immediately in front of his target, projecting his body forward with his hook blade unleashed and his right arm plunging down, ready to stick the hook in the back of the man's belt. Following through, Yusuf did a somersault over the man, releasing his blade as he did so, and carried on at speed away from the dumbfounded mercenaries. Before they had time fully to regroup,